To say we are insanely hyped up for the DLC for Elden Ring is probably going to be one of the biggest understatements of 2024. Like, we all do know this DLC is probably going to be one of the biggest ones ever. We did see, like, different leaks and stuff before saying it's, like, massive. I can definitely see that after watching the trailer, guys. The amount of enemies, the bosses, the weapons. My goodness, the hype is through the roof. I am so dang excited. We also do know this DLC is going to be made by one of the best companies ever. And at this point, though, I would almost say pretty much nobody is going to probably argue that statement. Like, From Software is going to be the GOATs. For example, guys, we look back at something like the Ring City DLC in Dark Souls 3, or like the old Hunters DLC back in Bloodborne. All going to be incredible games with obviously big DLCs in them that everybody pretty much adored. Now we also will have Elden Ring coming out. And I cannot forget about Sekiro. That game was also goated. But now we did have Elden Ring come out in 2022, around 2 years later. We are now going to get one of the most insane looking DLCs I have ever seen. Like, for example, looking at the boss fights in this, like that big flaming guy, or like the weird monster looking like it's sucking the, never mind on that sentence. But we all do know what I was going after with that one. Then we also see like the lion thing shooting like lightning and stuff in the next scene. Like, I cannot wait to fight these bosses. It is probably going to be one of the most insane things ever. Also, I don't know how right I am on this, but I do think there's probably going to be some type of like trick weapons or like some type of like new moves, because you do see someone judo kick one of the enemies. And you know what's funny though is every time I keep going through the trailer, I'm pretty much having like the biggest smile on my face, like that episode of SpongeBob. My goodness though, like I am so dang excited, guys. Let me know in the comments, by the way, how many times are you probably going to watch the trailer? I am probably going to be around 10 times at the end of this video or more. And by the time the game comes out, I'm probably going to be like over 70 or something. But the other thing I really did like, though, was that fully automatic looking crossbow that you would pretty much see it's also on fire, at least the arrows are. But then again, I'm probably going to be on fire after running it. Head on in there, the Tarnish, because my goodness, we legit have to rise. I never really realized how much some of this stuff actually sounds really cringy when I actually say it. But my goodness, though, I really cannot hide the excitement with this game. But one of the other things I did want to talk about, guys, is going to be some of the enemies and bosses you see in this trailer. So one of them I was noticing is looking like a gigantic, like, dog thing with, like, a horn. Honestly, I have no idea what that actually is, but we all do know we are most likely going to encounter it and die about 5 to 10 times, and probably end up going back there and going like, yeah, this is the one, when it's not, because you died again. And I'd have to say at this point, it's probably going to be worth dying 9 or 10 times playing Elden Ring, because it is legit going to be the funnest experience ever. But one thing I did want to point out, guys, around 2.8 seconds into this trailer, there's going to be a pretty interesting fight. Now, the reason why I did want to point this one out is because it brings me back to a different fight in Sekiro. That is going to be the Ishin Sword Saint, I think that's his name. That is going to be the final boss in that game. Hopefully, I'm not spoiling that if you haven't played it. But this area really does remind me of that, except that area is more of like a purplish color, I think. This one's going to be an insane bright blue with like the blue stars or like the blue things coming up there. My goodness, I cannot wait to fight the enemies in this. Also, the other enemy around 2.17 seconds looks like something from Rampage. Is that going to be a crocodile, like hippo looking thing? What even is that? I don't know, but I want to die to it. That way I can be like, okay, you know what? And then not too long after that, though, you're also going to see an enemy that basically reminds me of Kassam from Bloodborne. That was an insane boss fight. He's also riding it looks like a horse that is going to be paralyzed in the back, unless I'm imagining things there. Then we're also going to have an enemy or like something sticking or like taking something out of his face. And at this point, though, I know y'all can't be lying to me right now. That is pretty much going to be us trying to take the phone away from us because we are watching the trailer way too much. Don't worry, you're not the only person. I'm also doing it. After that, though, we're going to have one of the craziest looking boss fights I have ever seen. It almost reminds me a bit of like Melania, I guess, with like the craziness of it. Who knows? I did see something in the comments that it might be Michaela. I'm not 100% there, but then again, we're probably going to see some lore videos and other breakdowns on the trailer here soon. I will definitely be tuning into those with like some of the other YouTubers and stuff, but my goodness though, guys, I really cannot wait for this DLC in June. Like, I legit cannot wait to jump into this and actually fight new enemies, explore this entire new area, and go after all kinds of different weapons. Yeah, on top of that, though, there's also probably going to be, like, a bunch of new armor sets, Ashes of War, and all kinds of new spells. Like, it is probably going to be unlimited on top of the game itself, guys. I legit cannot wait, my goodness. And like, I'm not even going to lie right now, this might sound kind of insane, but I legit cannot wait to actually get obliterated by some of these bosses and these enemies to be like, you know what, let's go in with this build, or like, let's run in there with this weapon and see if I can beat that enemy or something like that. It is going to be insane. I would say, guys, that's probably one of the funnest parts about Elden Ring, which in some ways I would say players might not end up agreeing with, but let's be honest though, dying to some of the bosses and the enemies is probably the fun of it. You know, going an insanely long area without finding like one of the gray sites, or like not knowing if you should probably go back to the next gray site and most likely put that XP in there. That way you might get even one level, or you're probably going to be like me and you most likely risk the entire thing because of a crazy looking enemy, and you're most likely going to go, yeah, you know what, let's go kill it, or not. And then boom, your XP's gone, you have to go grab it, and that is probably going to be the only thing you actually want to go after. Pretty much no enemies are going to exist at that point. Now, I definitely want to know what you guys think about the DLC trailer in the comments below. What was your favorite part from it? What are some things that actually stood out? I would say for me, probably the entire DLC stood out, but yeah. But for me, though, a few things that did stand out is obviously going to be that new map area and also the no, yeah. For me, though, I would say the biggest thing is most likely going to be the enemy design and the insane boss fights we are most likely going to encounter. I honestly cannot wait to try out new weapons and explore this new area of the map, but my goodness, though, the enemy design is probably going to be unmatched here. I also do want to mention I will be doing more videos. And the last thing I do want to mention, though, is I am planning on doing a DLC prep video. That way you can be completely ready for this DLC in June, which I would say everybody is most likely going to be preparing for. Funnily enough, I also have a video dropping Sunday, which is going to be for the 2-year anniversary. But once again, though, guys, let me know some of your favorite things in the new DLC trailer, and I honestly can't wait for this to come out.